Hey guys, Jerome Maldonado. So I'm sitting inside a newly framed home, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about new construction regrets. These are small details that new homeowners always sit back and scratch their head and say, wow, I wish I would have thought of that beforehand, and when it's already too late. And as a builder for over 20 plus years, in my early years when I first started building homes, and I'm not exempt from it even today, we used to do a lot of new builds, and there was little things that I needed to tweak to make the house just perfect that home buyers didn't like about the houses. And so here's a few of them. So for those of you guys who are buying land, building houses, and want to know what little regrets that people have, I'm going to go through them now. Now, everything starts off with the land. And if you guys haven't already heard me talk about how important the windows and the views are, it's very important. So if you're building in a dense area, and you have next door neighbors, you want to be able to look and see where their windows already pre-exist in comparison to how you're designing your house and where their windows, or when your windows are going to align with theirs. Typically, where a home sits next door and they're really close and densely built, I'll usually figure out which views to like the master bedrooms, which views to the family rooms, the kitchen, and the main living areas can be disguised by a garage wall or a wall that's what we call a dead wall on a new build. And so for sake of example, in a real dense neighborhood, if your neighbor's house has a garage wall on it and they have a dead wall, that's where you want to put your kitchen, that's where you want to put your family room, that's where you want to put your most highly anticipated living areas, so that way you don't have to stare into your neighbor's yard and into their main living areas all the time. Now, and vice versa, you're going to flip yours to be able to have your dead wall on their live area where their living rooms are, so that way they also get the privacy and you're not staring right into their room. So that's a big point to be able to hit when you're building. And a lot of people don't think about it. They just design the home and then they go and they frame it and they sit back and they look and they go, oh my God, I'm going to have to stare at my neighbor in the kitchen always, because my kitchen and their kitchen face each other. Our family room and their family room, they face each other. And so one regret that most people have when they don't think that stuff through is exactly that. So you always want to think about that. The second thing on the lot that you want to think about is the views. The views of, like, do you have lakefront views? Do you have ocean views? Do you have city views? Do you have pool views? Do you have mountain views like we do here in the Rockies? And so I always open my front doors, and everything that I do, I try to situate them where they open up directly out to the mountain views, the most desirable view that you have. And so that's always the second regret that people have on their lot, is that they didn't account for the most beautiful views. So we'll see people that'll go in and say, they have this awkward lot that sits up on a hill and they're looking to put a patio shoved up into the back corner of their house because that's the only spot that they now have to be able to get this little tiny mountain view. So instead of going in and squeezing a little patio in the back corner of the yard, I always tell people, let's situate the house now where we can pivot things, open up the windows, and be able to have the house where you open up the front doors, you open up your main family rooms, and your most desirable views are out back, where you spend most of your time looking out of the biggest windows of your home and the biggest views that are at a standpoint when you're most active in your home, when you're cooking, when you're with family, when you're entertaining. But you have the best views when you walk through that house and into the family rooms. Third thing you want to make sure that you always take into account, one of the biggest regrets that people have is the way they design their kitchens. Most people buy homes because of how the kitchens look, how the master bathroom is, space and availability. And so a lot of people don't really think about cabinet space. And a lot of times in early years, we weren't thinking about pantries, we weren't thinking about cabinets, we were just thinking about the bedrooms and how the house was going to actually be situated. And then we get to the end and I have an awkward cabinet or center wall that went into like a breakfast nook. And so storage and usable space is super important. One of the big things that has trended over the last 2 decades is open space. People love wide open floor plans. So even since the early 2000s and the late 90s when we first started building, all the way to 2021 and moving into 2022, all the way to today, one of the big things that people like about homes is they want open space. And so if you start restricting your space by putting walls in between your kitchen and your family rooms, it's a big no-no. People don't want to be restricted. One of the things, like my wife always asked me in our old home, she goes, one thing that would be nice is, she goes, I hate that wall right there. She goes, there was a fireplace. It blocked the kitchen from the family room. So when me and the kids were sitting around watching television in the evening and she was cooking dinner, she felt secluded in the kitchen, and it was very hard to talk and communicate, and she felt very isolated. Families don't like that anymore. They want a wide open floor plan. They want a floor plan where they have an open view. The families can coerce and be able to entertain all in one unit. So your kitchen, your family room, and even your open floor plan from your front door opening into your breakfast nooks and everything should all be wide open. So even like on this house that I'm sitting in right now, it's a smaller home, but the family room connects to the kitchen, connects to the breakfast nook and dining area, and it's all one living unit. And so it's a wide open floor plan, even all the way up to the stairways. And so this way, the family always feels at one unit. And that's what sells. That's what trends. You don't want to have those regrets after you finish the house and say, wow, I wish I wouldn't have put this wall here because now it blocks my kitchen from my family room. And you want to make sure that you have that wide open floor plan. You want to make sure that your center islands sit contained into the kitchen, and they're not interfering with circular access throughout the rest in the remainder of the house. Fourth thing you want to think of is closet space. This is one thing that we made mistakes on time and time again. There's never enough storage in houses. So when you look at storage space, closet space, you always want to be thinking on where people are going to put stuff when they come into the house. And one of the things that people used to do is they used to do these little tiny corner pantries. And they did a little bit of countertop space in the kitchen, and the pantry was so small and the kitchen was so small that you didn't have place for your microwave ovens, your crock pots, all your dishes, your decor, and people struggle for that countertop space. And so one thing that we do now is we always put in a circular floor plan, and we put in what's called butler's pantries. And so in some of our smaller homes, we'll still do corner pantries, and obviously there's a cost to pay for amenities, right? But in thinking about the original construction, so that you don't have buyer's remorse, or regrets after you build the house, always consider the storage space that house has. Big open cabinets in the kitchen, a lot of cabinet space, a lot of overhead cabinets. You want linen cabinets in your bathroom and your garages, ladies and gentlemen. People will confine their garage space. And I'll tell you, I've sold more homes because I put in 3-car garages as opposed to 2-car garages, and people just love the workspace on having a 3-car garage. Now, this is not feasible on every single home, but point be made that you don't want to have a regret after the house is built. When you pull your cars into the garage, you can't even open your doors to get out of your garage. And I'll tell you that it happens, ladies and gentlemen. You're trying to confine all your square footage. You're trying to pull the space in, and your garages are built too dense. You can't utilize them. People like storage space. So when you go in, you build and design your homes, make sure that you have enough door space, enough storage space, and that you extend your garages. Even if you stay to a 2-car garage, have workbench space, have a little mud room as you come in and out of the garage into your house. Have small amenities that allows you to be able to have more usable space for storage in your garage, your cabinets, and throughout your bathrooms and everywhere else that you're building in your home, so that people can be able to utilize that extra space, and when they come in and move, they don't feel like they have a regret that they didn't put little storage space where you could take dead space out of walls. Like, for example, the dead space under these steps right here. You always make space. So if you go around in this pantry in here, there's storage all the way around the steps. You go into our house, you go under our steps, there's more storage in there. And so a great space for storage and to utilize just small knickknack items for vacuum cleaners, brooms, and all the other amenities for your home is always in your stairways. And take advantage of every single piece of your space to be able to utilize and maximize your square footage of your home. If you have dead wall space where 2 walls come together at a 45-degree angle and there's a triangular void, put a closet there. Utilize that space. Little small architectural changes that'll increase the usability of the house. And last but not least, one of the big things that we have had some major regrets on is our heating and cooling systems. Ladies and gentlemen, when you have wide open floor plans, we're trying to save on heating and cooling. And so we'll cut ductwork out of different rooms, or we'll move things and adjust things so that way we can accommodate maybe one unit instead of 2 units to save a few $100s on an extra unit. I always tell people, spend for comfort. And when you're building a new home, is not the time to save a few $100s on the comfort of your home. And that's why the heating and cooling systems are called the comfort zones of your home, because the thermal regulation are what's going to be able to make you comfortable in your home. So if in the summer your house faces south and the sun's coming in and you don't have adequate heating and cooling, it's going to be an issue. In the winter, vice versa. If you don't have the capability of having the solar energy coming into that house to warm it up, and you don't have proper heating, it's going to be an issue. And so we've had those regrets. We've had home buyers have some of these requests of some of these regrets after they've purchased our homes, and they just gave us recommendations to fulfill their request of being able to maximize the value of the house they buy with simple, small tweaks that each and every one of you guys can take advantage of when you're building a home. But don't go in and build a home and stop thinking about what people actually need. You want to be able to surface some of those key items to maximize the value of your home, increase the buyers that want to buy your home, and never have buyer's remorse or buyer's regrets after you complete your property and after you complete your home and after you complete your project. One thing that I learned back in 2002, I remember I had a house and I was trying to skimp on the lumber prices because I didn't want to use longer studs. And so I'll tell you guys, ceiling heights are super important. You go into any of my houses now and you'll walk into a lot of entryways that have 16-foot ceilings, at a minimum 14-foot ceilings, and then throughout the rest of my houses, almost 100% of all the houses I build have a minimum of a 10-foot ceiling on them. Now, there are exceptions to that. Some of the stuff that we're doing that's a little bit more along the affordable housing model, we still keep a minimum ceiling height of 9 feet. Never bring your ceiling heights down lower than 9 feet. 8-foot ceiling heights were a thing of the 70s. Those times are gone. Along with the open floor plan, the ceiling heights are super important. You don't want to constrict the ceiling heights on your home. It makes your home feel larger, bigger, more open when you have that 9-foot or even 10-foot ceiling heights, if you could take advantage of them. When we come into the family rooms, we come into the entryways, you want to even go a little bit higher. So if you have 10-foot ceilings throughout, go with at least 12-foot ceilings in the entryway and in the kitchens. If you can get those 14-foot ceilings like I'm talking about, go ahead and implement them. Yes, they will cost you a little bit more, but the resale value of that home, then the quality of buyers that you retain are going to appreciate the quality of the height variance that you utilize with taller ceiling heights. Now, one thing that when we go in and we work on situating the houses, we talk about the thermal regulation of the houses, and we're talking about heating and cooling. How you situate that house is very important. You know, a lot of times I tell people, face the back of the house towards the east. Always face the front of the house to the west or face it to the north. Because the west and the north don't get that direct sun, but in the morning sun on the east or to the south, those are the areas where the sun revolves from the morning to be able to get that solar energy into the house from the east sun, or throughout the day on the south sun. So if you don't have views, you don't have lake views, mountain views, or something else we could situate your house to, try to get your house situated where it sits either to the east on the backyard or to the south on the backyard, where you have all your open windows, and have the front of the house always sit towards the west or towards the north. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are just small tips to be able to help increase the value of your homes, increase the buyer potential, and make sure that you don't have any new home regrets at the end of construction.